Oh yeah.
What's up everybody? Welcome back to Inside Out Precision. Today's video we're going to be covering torque tuning, which sounds a little scary because generally the word torque is not something you want to associate in an archery shot. But it's really kind of the final step in tuning with both, you've got your bow shooting a bullet hole, your arrows are spined correctly, everything is good, your shots are feeling good. Generally speaking, when the pin is in the middle and you break a clean shot, it's hitting where you're aiming. I will also say that torque tuning is generally more specific to target archery than a hunting setup, and that's because of basically the equipment that's being used. A fall away rest doesn't support the arrow quite as long, and so the rest doesn't have as much of an effect on the arrow. Whereas a blade rest, like the little spring blades, or in this case, like I have a Hamskea Hybrid Target Pro, and I've got it timed to where that rest stays up until that string is probably 5 or 6 inches from hitting the string stop. So it has enough support to where it will affect the arrow. And the reason that is important is because torque tuning is literally moving your rest starting with in the forward position, so the rest all the way forward, shooting an arrow in the middle, then literally torquing your bow one way and shooting another arrow, and then torquing your bow the other way and shooting an arrow. And what we're doing is looking for the drift in the point of impact. So generally, if I torque my bow to the left really hard, I'm going to impact to the left. If I torque my bow to the right really hard, I'm going to impact to the right. Now with torque tuning, literally what we're doing is moving our rest back. I like to do in about 1/4 inch increments. Now like I said, this requires the right equipment. So if you can see on this Hamskea here, I have it actually all the way back, but you can see this rest can slide forward, backwards and forwards right there. Now a lot of hunting rests don't have that. They have one mounting bolt, it goes on the bow, and that's where it's going to stay. A lot of target rests, target specific rests, and the AAE Freak Show really comes to mind. They've got like 2.5 or 3 inches sometimes of throw to where I can really move that thing really far back or really far forward. So let's say we have our rest all the way in the forward position and we shoot one arrow in the middle, and then I torque my bow left and it impacts 4 inches to the left. Then I torque my bow right and it impacts 4 inches to the right. What I'm going to do next is move my rest back at the mounting bracket here, move it back about 1/4 inch. And when I'm doing this, I like to take a little pencil and just mark a little line on my riser, top and bottom, so that when I re-cinch that rest, I know that my bracket is still in the same position and it's not going to affect the way that arrow is coming off the bow. As I do this, what you're going to notice is, generally speaking, that as you move that rest back with the same amount of torque right and left, your arrows aren't going to impact as far. So like I said, let's say on the first shot, the first time I do it, whoa, I don't want that falling over. On the first shot, it's 4 inches right and 4 inches left. And then on the next shot, after I move it back 1/4 inch, it's 3 inches right and 3 inches left. I move it back another 1/4 inch and I'm 2 inches right and 2 inches left. Move it back more and maybe now I'm down to an inch or just 1.5 inches. I move it back again and all of a sudden it's back out to 2 inches. And I go a little further and now it's back out to 2.5 or 3 inches. So what you're going to find basically is that sweet spot where the torque in your hand does not affect the point of impact as much. Now you're never going to be able to get it to where no matter how hard you torque it, they're all just going to pipe right down the middle. That's just not how this works. But what this does is it gives you a little more forgiveness in your shot routine to where, maybe your hands are sweaty or you're shooting up and downhill and for one reason or another you get a little bit of torque into that grip. The idea is that it's not going to punish you as badly if you've torque tuned your bow. So it is literally just torquing your bow right, torquing your bow left, and seeing how far the spread between those arrows is. And as I move my rest back, generally they'll get closer and closer and closer. And then once I get past a certain point, they start spreading back out. This is a little more advanced tuning technique. Like I said, you need to be confident in your shot so that when generally speaking, when your pin is in the middle and you execute a good shot, you're hitting where your pin was. If I'm shooting 5-inch groups at 20 yards, it's really hard to tell if it was the torque or if it was just me that caused that right or left miss. Again, you also need your bow. This is kind of the last step in tuning, because if my bow isn't shooting a bullet hole through paper, or my arrow's kicking way tail high or way tail low, it's going to affect the torque differently one side or another. So if my bow is already kicking really hard to the right and then I torque my bow really hard to the right, it's going to show up more on the right side than it is on the left side, or vice versa. So this is really the last step in what I would do on a tune. For example, I have this all the way back at this point, and I had about a 2-inch spread between my right and left arrow, maybe 2.5 inches. Now I'm all the way back on this, so I don't know if it would get better. I just know it got worse when it was further forward. So the equipment for this is pretty important. As I said, the AAE Freak Show, if you're looking for a target rest, is a great blade rest. It's got a lot of adjustment. In fact, for Hoyts, they make one that'll even go all the way back behind the little bridge in the tech riser, so you can get that thing way back there. I don't know many people that run it all the way back, but they mount it behind it and then run the rest forward a little bit. You hear a lot of pros doing this. Like I said, it's something that it's a little advanced. It's not going to improve your score by 10 or 15 points, but in target archery, if I can squeak out an extra, if I can catch 1 or 2 lines in a round because I got a little more forgiveness out of the torque tuning of my bow, to me it's worth it. So go ahead and give this a try. It's really not as intimidating as it sounds. Like I said, just make sure you mark above and below your rest right here. So like I said, make a little line right above and a little line right below. That way, as you move that rest back, you're still square on your mounting bracket. If you have any more questions on this, as always, please feel free to reach out either in the comment section below or on Instagram at inside_out_precision. There's a lot of different tuning techniques. This is just one more that you can kind of put in your pocket and maybe pick up a couple extra points. So thanks again for watching. As always, we really appreciate you guys. If you could hit that subscribe button, it really helps us out. We've had so much positive feedback, and it's just really encouraging to keep making these videos and giving you guys useful information. So until next time, as always, keep it in the middle, and remember, precision is a decision.